Hi, this is Wishop, and this is a card reading for the new moon in Aries beginning April 6th, 2016. So I keep trying to start with a bunch of blah blah, and I don't want to do that. So let's just jump into the cards. This time I'm going to use the Lenormand cards, which can be very nuts and bolts, but I tend to get a little bit metaphysical and developmental with them anyway, so we'll just see what we get. Currently, the moon is in Pisces, so some of those sort of deeper messages do tend to surface during that time, at least in my experience as a reader. I also have a tarot card and two different oracle cards, so we'll see what kind of comprehensive message, if any, we get out of it. And I hope that you've been having a good spring and that the sort of mutable energies have left you feeling flexible and adaptable and nimble to deal with the situations that come up, because I think many great opportunities look as if they're presenting themselves, and opportunities that will be in line with your deepest, most passionate goals and really your discovery or rediscovery of your deepest values. So let's see what we get here and see see what happens. Okay. I'm not always good at flipping this without making a mess. Garden. Okay. Interesting. Ship. Whip. Okay. So immediately, let me just give you my sort of off the cuff instinct. Whip can be a negative card, right? Because it can be things that we inflict upon ourselves or that are inflicted upon us. They can be painful, repetitive patterns, as you see in this card. This is the alternate realities Lenormand, which happens to have little guide words on it. But you also see there's a moon there, right? So it's cyclical things. It's repetitive things. And I'm looking here at the garden and the ship. And because I think of the ship as moving away from, even though it's on the other side of the whip, I sort of see this as if our small groups that we're a part of, our social groups, small organizations or places in which we put ourselves forward, I see it as sort of moving away from these repetitive old patterns. And part of it too is that this ship, let me get this a little closer for you. If we look at this ship, the prow of the ship is facing to the left. See, it's moving toward the garden. It's not moving toward the whip. So you can see these little figures on this boat, like they're the little crew, and maybe they're trying to get back to the boat, trying to get back on board. Like, hey, wait for us. Ship can mean movement and transportation, but I look at the fact that a lot of times it means movement from something to something, and quite often can be seen as a positive card. So what's kind of funny is I'm almost reading this backwards, as if the ship, which is our central card, it's the movement. It's all about the direction of our movement. And so maybe traditionally we were moving left to right, and it was all going this way. And it was toward repetitive patterns and towards things that might have been painful. But now we're going this way. We've changed course, right? And we're heading this way toward groups of like-minded people, towards sociable situations, towards situations that seem very friendly. I mean, look, this looks, like a party around a maypole, and often the garden is a very beautiful, harmonious card. And I feel like that's where the ship's going. So it's very much an opportunity, and I think we've all been seeing that. Well, I say we've all, I don't know, but a situation I've been seeing and some people I know have been seeing is that we're encountering situations which are similar to ones that we have encountered in the past. Only because we've changed, they seem to be at a much lower level of intensity. They're disturbing us to a smaller degree. We're feeling much more competent to deal with them, much stronger to deal with them. It's as if we're now being tested, like if you were confronting your middle school bully and now you're an adult, it wouldn't freak you out the same way. You're like, no, this is not actually bothering me that much. And I do feel like I've been seeing, and I've been seeing in the cards, and I think that other people I know have been seeing in their lives, this sort of thing play out where it's like that final tug on the string, right? We're going to try and tug you. We're going to try and test you by putting in front of you a similar situation to the ones that you've been hurting yourself with. And we're going to see how well you now adapt to that, how quickly you recognize, oh, this is that old thing again, and I don't do that anymore. I don't play that way anymore. I don't play those records in my head anymore. I don't adopt that point of view or react in a habitual way to that anymore, because that's not who I'm choosing to be. I am choosing to set my course towards things which are harmonious, toward people who are like-minded, towards groups and organizations and goals interacting with other people that are really fruitful for me, that are supportive to me. Now, I can deal with the numbers on the cards in terms of, the houses. This is, 10th house and 9th house, and this is the moon. But I like to deal with the numbers actually in terms of tarot analogs. That's kind of fun for me. So if I think of 20, it's the Judgment card, and it's the rebirth card. So this to me would signal in that way, if I use it this way, because I tend to sort of cross-read different oracular systems, which not everybody does. So it's no problem if it's not your bag, but the way I'm doing it is because I am going to flip a tarot card later. I'm sort of seeing this garden as this rebirth into your new self, in sort of finding your tribe a little bit, and it could be finding the business you want to participate in, finding the group of people you'd like to work with, finding a group of friends with similar interests, or finding yourself more at home in some situation which is social and where you're really going to feel a sense of celebration and a sense of warmth and a sense of happiness, instead of feeling like you're putting yourself through something again and again and again. So I feel like that's what the Lenormand cards are saying to me, which is great, because so often and I hadn't even noticed the ship was going this direction before, but I usually see the ship in Lenormand and it's going left to right, but this one's backwards, and I tend to think there's always a reason for stuff like that, and there's reasons when you notice it. So I feel like we're moving. We've not only changed course, we're now reading from right to left. And I happen to be dyslexic, so for me this is not an unusual thing, and flipping things inside out and upside down to right side up is frequently, for me, a very fruitful and creative way to look at things. So I feel like we're moving out of the pain of the past, and we are traveling, we are moving towards enterprises and people which are much more fulfilling and harmonious. So let's see what the tarot cards have to say. I pulled one Hoi Polloi tarot, which is my sort of psychedelic Rider-Waite deck. So here we go. Here's 5 of Swords. So 5 of Swords can represent obviously conflict and the kinds of things you're trying to get away from. But it also can represent, and if we're flipping things upside down and back to front, I like to look at the opposite view of things. 5 of Swords can represent victory. These two people who were fighting, it looks like, with this person, have walked away. We tend to identify with the ones who look like they were defeated, who dropped their swords and left. But frankly, what we've all been going through has required a lot of persistence. So if we are the ones who stuck with it through to the bitter end, why should we not have the rewards? Why should we not feel good about what we've gained? Because we've worked hard for it. These people are walking away. They're not being carried out on stretchers. Okay, this is not a fatal battle. They left their weapons and ran or walked or whatever. And we tend to like to look at this person because they happened to, not happened to, but because they succeeded. We might look at them as a bad person. Are you capable of looking at your own success or success in the things you want as being noble, right? Or do you always look at the person who has lost in your view, or the person who has not succeeded? Is that the one you always identify with and you always think is more virtuous? We can think there's a kind of virtue in not succeeding. And when you think that people who have succeeded are by nature not virtuous, well, if they're making a lot of money at their job, they're obviously cheating somebody. If their business is doing well, they're obviously cutting corners or exploiting the people working for them or cheating their customers. If you think that way, it can get in the way, I believe, of making progress if material success or success in business is something that you want and something you value. So you really have to think about, is it okay to be this victor? If these people are still standing and they've dropped their swords and they're walking away, is it a problem for you that this person is picking up what the other people have left behind, picking up the customers they didn't want, picking up the business they didn't want, picking up the ideas that someone else left behind, making use of what was there and turning it to their advantage? Is that okay for you? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it's something worth thinking about. What are your attitudes towards success, quote unquote success, and quote unquote failure? Do you think it's nobler to stay the underdog? Because if you do, that could be a difficulty if you don't want to be the underdog, or you've decided that identity is not the one I want anymore. Thinking about how you would feel about yourself if you were the victor. Is it possible to be the victor and also be a good, caring, generous person? Can this person be calling out to the other people, hey, wait, we can share, it's all right? Can you imagine it that way? Because if you can, that requires a flexibility of mind that I think is really valuable. So let me quickly get to the oracle cards. We've got this Buddha card. Oh, look at this. I love the way these things work out. Power. Okay, these Buddha cards are so sweet and gentle, and yet here we are talking about power, which is exactly what these cards are about. We're reversing our ideas about power. How do we deal with power? And how do we deal with ourselves as powerful beings? If you exert power, like in this whip, is the exertion of power always a bad thing? Or are there times when exerting power is actually good because it's in the defense of a good goal, it's promoting something you want to do, it's helping other people, you're using your power and strength to help other people who need it? Are there uses of power which are justified in your mind? Maybe yes, maybe no, but worth thinking about. So here is the Oracle card, which is a huge card, but it's from the Brownies deck by Doug Thorne's Joe. Oh my goodness, I could not have planned it. I love it. Control. Okay. I like when these messages get all clear like this. Okay, control. I was talking about the idea of what does it mean, power and control? Are these things used in virtue? If you want to change your life and you want your material circumstances to change, can you accept that there are uses of power and control which are not inherently bad? That controlling yourself, that exerting your own power, retaining sovereignty over your own choices, that is a really important thing to do, that's the kind of power and control that is most useful. Anyway, I'm running out of time, but I want to say rock on with your bad selves, and may all your problems be really high-class ones. Bye.